faces are huge. Sorry about that.
Let's fix that. All right.
Podcast 215, a little season 4 of the 5PL. We're going into week 17 here right away. So we have a quick review and recap and who's hot, who's not, and all that good stuff.
Boy season is like slowly winding to an end, and it seems like it's been nonstop from the start. Like it feels like the season just started, and we've had something every weekend.
Yeah. The season seems like it's winding down, but it's literally all the big events just kind of slamming into each other now.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, we do have a couple commentators that are going to join us, people that are mostly impartial, maybe one that might not be so much, but we'll bring in Mr. Tim Hooper and Victor, former Dreamcrusher. Nice hat.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us, guys. Now, when you say like mostly impartial, were you talking about Vic or Tim? Because I feel like Tim has got to be a little like partial towards the Winnipeg teams, right? And apparently he's shit talking us. So there's that.
As he should. We were a 500 team.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And I mean, let's be honest, we shit talk Winnipeg all the time. It's about time we get a fair share.
100% fair.
That is absolutely true.
It's only fair. It's only fair.
Yeah, exactly. What should we start with? Maybe let's run over the standings really quick. We'll kind of start with the Schwartz division. We're not in that. We can be a little more impartial. Can't really see that, eh? Let's see if I can add a better. You just gotta squint real bad.
That's what glasses are for.
Obviously,
Next is the only one without glasses.
Next gen is Next gen is crushing it.
As a surprise to none.
Yeah,
they have a super talented team. They had a super talented team. They're playing in Body Dude, and then they add in Weber. Who's shocked?
but I mean, and obviously the Avalanche too, right? I mean, they're a 700 team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They're playing at Polo.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that changed from. Obviously, their dynamic changed a little bit. They added Mark Steves. Nobody knew who Mark was out anywhere else. But I watched him in the Open in 2023. The guy can play.
Mm-hmm.
They add him in there. He's averaging close to 300. Playing at Polo Park instead of St. James. I don't know if that made any difference, but it's been a different season for them for sure.
For sure. I mean, Polo Park's a somewhat better scoring center than St. James. I mean, you've got Steves is over 300, and they picked up Dean Bartel, who missed a bit of time earlier in the season, and now he's 270, 280, I believe.
Yeah, 278, right?
Yeah. Dean has always been a very, very talented player.
Mm-hmm.
Nice to see him play these things, and yeah.
And Colton's very quietly built a huge season.
Yeah, averaging 300. Yeah.
Well, his last set of matches that he played, 9 from the gun can't hurt at all either. So
insane.
Quietly did that. But yeah, Polo Park compared to the other centers that I've seen in Winnipeg definitely had more pin action. Everything flies a lot easier, it seems like. So yeah, it may be the Bonnie Doon of Winnipeg.
I would say Dakota is for sure.
Yeah.
Dakota is on a whole other level. That's for sure.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Fair enough.
Well,
I've never
averages across saying Polo Park is scoring just as well.
Yeah.
I mean, huge shout out though to Aaron though. I believe that's the high average of the entire league so far at 313.5.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
I think Chafe might be a little bit higher. But at least
308, I think. I just looked at.
Oh, he dropped. Okay.
Yeah, he had a rough second game the other day.
Yeah.
308.6. Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, no. And you can see if you go back to the Dynamite, really only been playing with 5 players. Right? Because, I mean, if you look at the numbers,
Hasn't played at all.
TD hasn't played much. Tyler hasn't played much. So you've been playing with just the 5 players?
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, they've only played 6 games too, so we'll see. We'll see what happens here coming up shortly.
Do you,
Yeah, they're only halfway through their season.
do you think Scotty has its circle again on the Bombers if he has a chance to play Mark again after last week? Do you think Scotty doesn't forget about anything, right? And I know he's listening to this podcast. He probably texts us after, but that was definitely uncharacteristic from him.
Yeah, if people didn't know, just go back to week 16, game 3 on the shorts division. Just watch the 10th frame. Scott won't like you watching it, but just go watch the 6th frame. Watch the last frame. Yeah, he had a chance to win it last ball. But yeah, unfortunately did not.
You got a bad break, I hear.
Mark was happy.
Yeah, the Dynamite will be an interesting dynamic here because, I mean, going into last week, that was looking like they were going to just cruise into the playoffs, and then they had a tough go of it. Last Sunday, now they've got 3 big games a chance to right the ship and stamp their place in the playoffs, I would expect.
Yeah, like they're in a position now where they got to start winning, right? Same as the Bombers. Bombers are kind of in the same position.
Yeah,
I know.
they definitely needed a good win last week, and they came out and they played very well.
Yeah.
So good for them.
Yeah, the Bombers play the last week of the season too, so they'll actually see what they need. So that's kind of the interesting dynamic of it too. Both them and the Maniacs. So see Maniacs. So they only have 2 games left though as well, so that'll be kind of interesting. So
And that's just it. If you look at the schedule, like the Bombers still have the Avalanche and Next Gen and the Maniacs and the Snowmen, who are also fighting for a spot in the playoffs.
Oh, that's
a pretty tough road to hoe.
That is, yeah.
Yeah,
because
the Bombers actually play in the last 3 weeks. So
yeah, next week you have Dynamite have 3 matches. The Kingpins are playing 2 of their final 4 matches, and the Holy Rollers are kind of tumbling out of a playoff spot, right? And this will be their
last match.
Yeah, it's their last match. So like they're pretty much hooped.
Yeah.
I would think so.
Yeah. I mean, even if they go 8-0, they're only at 500. That's not good enough.
That's not good enough for this division. No.
Yeah.
No.
And then week 18, Dynamite again, but then the Avalanche has their final matches and the Kingpin rounds out their season. So these next couple weeks, well, I guess it's this week and the week of the 30th, we're kind of going to see what happens. And then, yeah, you're going to have the very last week, you have the Bombers have their last 2 matches.
Yeah.
And they're not cakewalks. Well, I mean, the average pros, but I mean, they're not cakewalks.
You know, the average pros have thrown up some like big numbers this year too, and still lost. Like it's just, some of it has just been bad luck for them too.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you throw 1350 and you only walk away with a couple of points, like that's tough. And I'll be honest, they've done that a few times. Yeah, like they'll definitely no slouch there, in my opinion.
Yeah. Here's a little bit of background information for people that don't know. So us as the Crushers had 2 matches last week, so we decided we wanted to change. So we moved all the way to lane 16. It made more sense for us with the bookings and stuff like that, but we needed a change. We played well, but the Bombers, they walk in, they don't have their regular lane 15. And like Mark wasn't the happiest camper when he walked in. We told him you should play lane 3. That's where the average pros have been throwing some scores. And then all of a sudden they shoot 1478. So is lane 3 the home of the Bombers now?
Lane 3 is a good lane. It is, and I said right away, it's like play lane 3. It is probably the best lane in the house.
Anyone would agree with that except for Anseth.
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
But he's there once a year, so
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, Steve, you're right. The Kingpins had a huge week. They had 2 1500s, and they did lose their second game out of 3, but they played really well.
Do you think the coaching change for that week made a difference.
Well, it didn't help Robert because I seen he was kind of last in the seniors division in Masters, so he probably wasn't too happy with that.
It'll just help him for teaching masters next year.
That's true. True enough.
Who was coaching?
Sean Schwartz,
Oh, excellent.
because Greg and Robert were both playing the Masters Provincial.
So was he player coach, or was he
Yes.
just coaching player coach?
Nope,
Yeah.
he was playing. Yep.
And did Baker play?
No, her arm is post.
That's what I thought. Okay. So that's really impressive.
So just looking at
That's good on
the
them.
standings again. Sorry, what are we thinking is going to be the number to make the playoffs for point percentage?
Like in this division, it could be 550.
I know
Yeah,
earlier
just
in the
because
year
the
we were
top two
talking.
are so top heavy.
Yeah.
I know earlier in the year we had kind of been talking 570, 580, 590 even, but it seems that number seems to be coming down every week.
Yeah.
They're
And
just
given that
beating
all
up
the
on
teams
each other, right?
chasing, yeah, and given that all the teams chasing are going to beat up on each other, it may come down. It may go even lower than we think it is.
Even like
Yeah,
relegation is interesting right now too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm probably
Like-
looking at like 520 makes playoff, and then relegation is starting to actually look kind of tight. So
Well, the Storm Strikers put on such a huge finish to their season to kind of give themselves a little life, but like if average pros put on a good end to their season, they could pass the Storm Strikers, and it could be Storm Strikers and knockouts, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So either way, the knockouts are going to be in relegation, I would think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
I
doesn't
think
look like
they're
there's
in
a way
trouble.
that
Unless I mean, honestly, you can even if you look at it, unless the Revengers have a terrible week, no, it doesn't matter anyways. The points, yeah, it's
Yeah.
over.
yeah, they're 38. So
That's surprising. I mean, they were a solid team the last couple of years, right? So
Yeah, I'm not sure if they just ran into hot matches. Like, I can look up what their average against is. That'd be kind of neat to see.
yeah, those are stats that I used to love following, seeing what everybody's throwing against everybody else.
We do have them. They're just really hard to display on a website. So,
Of course,
knockouts.
yeah, you hound
Okay.
enough for all the press sheets. There's my chirp. See it in the commentary. Get your press sheets in, guys.
So the knockouts average against is actually only 259, but they had a pretty low season. They only averaged 239 as a team. So
that's tough.
Yeah,
yeah,
makes it tougher for
that's
sure.
that's a low for them because I think they were in the 260s last year. So
yeah, because you're looking at, I mean, Coralie struggling 213, and she is she's one of the better females the last 2 years, right? So
yeah,
that's a big one there. Even Riley's only 250, Richie is only 240. You know, Ryan's 220. They're a lot. They're not playing nearly as well as what they're capable of, right? But when you're playing well as when the league is so tough, right? A little sometimes if you're not playing that well, that can come up, right? So
yeah, you run into big matches. Like they ran into a couple 1400s, 13 and a halves, and when you're averaging 240 as a team, it's hard to get to those scores, right?
mm-hmm. Absolutely, that makes it tough.
Yeah.
But so I
Yeah.
guess, sure, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna ask. So who's your pick? Lay it out, everybody. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
5. Okay. Well, I obviously next gen Avalanche I'd be putting in,
Yeah, that'll be 1-2.
right? And I would think for me personally, not with actually doing detailed looks in the matches, I would have to say probably the Bombers and the Dynamite, and I'd probably say sneaking in also would be the Kingpins.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too.
I
Yeah,
think
I would-
that's after doing the analysis this afternoon, that was kind of the conclusion I drew as well.
I think the team that could play spoiler is the Maniacs, right?
Oh,
They
100%.
could-
Based on how the schedule's kind of playing, that's actually the team that I was gonna probably suggest would be like they may sneak into 5, just because they play the last week, and they're playing, like obviously, so they play the Bombers and then they play the Revengers. So Maniacs have a chance to get in there, and obviously, if they even take 10, still makes a big difference, and puts them like in that 520 mark. So that that has the opportunity to potentially be that 5th spot.
Well, and like, yeah, exactly. I mean, if they come out and they win that first match, then all of a sudden, like, now it's really interesting. And then they have their second match against the Regina Rebranders. And like, you never know what's going to happen, honestly.
Well, okay, and I will say, like, the Lumberjacks are playing the Kingpins and they're playing the Dynamite. So if say they win both of those matches, they have since they're in that kind of group, that is a possibility as well.
Yeah, the Lumberjacks and the Maniacs are kind of the teams that are a little bit below the playoff mark at the moment. But if they can put 2 wins together and the Bombers and the Dynamite trip up a little bit, those 2 teams can be right in, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, who did you say the matches were for Lumberjacks, Tim? Dynamite and
I said it.
Kingpins.
And Kingpins.
Kingpins, yeah. And like, if I have to choose between the 2 of them, I like the matchups better for Maniacs to finish. No offense to Bombers at all. Bombers are playing really well. Regina's really struggled this year. You have the Lumberjacks who are going to face 2 teams that are like playing very, very well.
And don't forget, Next Gen gets to play both Dynamite and the Bombers.
True.
That is true.
Yeah.
A bunch of heavy hitters going after each other, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people don't realize this, but the last matches of the year not for us and April 6th for the Bombers, they're all going to be at Bonnie Doon. There has been a scheduling situation, and Bull Alberta had to swap some dates around at the beginning of the year after we sent the schedule out, and sure, Bull's booked. So Bonnie Doon's gracious to host us. So our matches against the Rebels and the Misfits will be at Bonnie Doon, and then the Next Gen and Bombers will be at Bonnie Doon as well. So all 4 teams will be running at once down there.
Oh,
Internet's
gonna be
going
a
to take
busy,
a crash.
yeah. I was thinking the same thing.
High end of the center, or are you guys all going to get split up? I guess, right?
No idea. We're just lucky to have a center. That's all we're hoping
That's
for.
fair.
We're going to slip them a 5, and we'll just go wherever the best lane is.
Yeah,
Um,
that's where it's at.
Ask
I'm
Brad,
really
that's actually
interested.
thrown well there.
Yeah. I'm interested with the average pros half point. How much do you think that half point's going to make a difference right now?
I think it's huge.
I think so too. And I'm like, okay, so 14 points gets them to Storm Strikers, right? That gets them above Storm Strikers.
Yeah.
Right? So 14 even. Like that's interesting. What
Yeah.
okay, what happens if
and
there
they
was
have
a
3
tie?
games to do it in. So
Yeah.
If it's a tie, it's the head to head.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, they got 3 games to do it too.
Yeah.
I see average pros being half a point in or half a point out. That's kind of
So
where
if they tie Storm Strikers, they won the head to head. Average pros did.
yeah.
Wow.
yeah, so that extra half point could be worth it. For
So
sure.
13 and a half is what they're aiming for.
Yeah. That's to get them out of the relegation.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how a tie is the ultimate tiebreaker in a very real sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they've
Well,
got
that's what
Dynamite,
happened.
Kingpins, and Bombers to finish up. Like they've got it's a tough schedule, but could be the ultimate spoilers here for a team that has designs on the playoffs.
Yeah. because that's what happened last year for the playoff spots. Anyways, like the Misfits tied the Dream Crushers, but Misfits won the head-to-head, so they got into playoffs. And same thing with Mayhem against Holy Rollers. Mayhem beat the Holy Rollers in the regular season, and they got in.
Yeah.
So crazy.
Yeah. Wild. And crazy that an entire season, 26 teams or 13 teams in division, and it comes down to that.
Yep.
Okay.
That's
So
that's why every win in the season matters. Like
Yep.
your head-to-head could be the decider, right?
Mm-hmm. And the neat point, like the 5 teams we did talk about, like that would be for our picks would be in outside, obviously not including the Maniacs or Lumberjacks. 4 to 5 were from the Cargill division last year.
So Cargill was a bunch of midfield teams, is what you're saying.
Let's see the other division when we talk about it. Maybe they're just a straight swap. I could be it too.
So really, you're saying the last 3 spots are up for 5 teams?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think we have to
I
concede
think-
Next Gen and Avs are going to win the top 2 spots.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Like, we were in the same boat, dude. Like,
We had the same fate, man. We get it.
Yeah.
Who do the pros play their last 3? Let's see here. Pros.
Dynamite, Kingpins, and Bombers.
Yeah. So
that's a tough
next
stretch.
this Sunday they have 2 matches, and then the very last week they have 1 match.
Sunday.
Yeah. Probably the biggest advantage right now is the fact that the Bombers, sitting 563, still have 5 matches to play.
Yeah.
Like that's a huge advantage for them. Dynamite kind of in the same boat, obviously, same range, 6 games to play. So obviously this next week for the Dynamite, that'll really kind of say what's going on. They got 3 matches, right? So yeah, that'll really start to be the telltale of how they'll finish up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, their next 2 weeks they have 4 of their 6 matches, so like that's gonna be big. And then they still have Next Gen to play, right? Their very last game of the season.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. It's exactly how it's supposed to be. Not how I planned the schedule, but it worked out perfectly, I think, right? So
All I know, Tim, next season is all these teams just got to submit. They're going to have 10 dates that they have to submit, and we're not going to have end-loaded seasons like this. Like, I feel bad for the Lumberjacks and the Trash Pandas because they were front-loaded seasons.
yeah. Well,
and then you have
you know,
Bombers and Dynamite with such an end-loaded season.
in all fairness, Trash Pandas didn't have much available for the back end.
Fair.
So that was them on there. Obviously, we all know how we feel about the Bombers. I really do think
Not
this is
all of us. That's you, man.
okay. Well, no. You get to stay out of it. That's your job. But I mean, I'm just saying in general. I'm just looking at. I think this was planned by them. So, 100% this is planned by the Bombers. But that's here nor there. The other people, I can't say otherwise. I know Dakota's busy, and I know that's just the way it is there. So, yeah, you know, who knows? Maybe Bombers end up being sick with karma. I don't know.
Well, it could bite them, right? If all of a sudden your team isn't really gelling or not playing the greatest at the end of the season, like it could be bad. But
if
honestly,
you're playing really well,
knowing your fate, yeah.
If you play really well in the end of the season, and then you're just rolling in a playoffs, that's an advantage for sure.
And I will say that honestly, we play with the Bombers again, following them, and they're very much like a team when it comes to getting rolling. They're tough to play against when they're running through the lineup well.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, they're tough that way. So.
Yeah. We do understand it. Everybody watching and listening after the fact or whatever. We do understand the schedule is tough. Every team playing once a month is also extremely tough when there's 26 teams and only 4 weekends. And most of the time there's a tournament in there. So there's only 3 weekends. Good luck playing one match every month. But yeah, we try our best. And next year we are going to be a little bit stricter, as if you want to play in the league, you're gonna figure it out, right? So
Yeah.
All right, are we good with the Schwartz?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Switching over to the best division. Just saying. Obviously, thanks to Cargill Canada for being a sponsor again this year. They've been a sponsor right from day one. Thanks to Sean Schwartz and Home Hardware being a sponsor of the other division. Sean has been a stout advertiser for freaking every association. Yeah,
Everything. Yeah.
if you don't know who Sean Schwartz is, reach out to him, thank him, because he is definitely a 5-pin bowler and an enthusiast and helps support everything. So
Absolutely.
thanks again, Sean.
He's the best bowler in the family right now.
That's true. Can't deny it.
Yeah.
The rankings, the 5-pin rankings still say otherwise, but like in this very moment. Rock and Rollers all finished their season pretty much locked up, I think, right?
Yeah, they're the most locked team. There's no way they're not making it.
Yeah, like if Misfits
question.
go 16 out, they can pass them. And so can Mayhem, but that's about it.
No, Roses can too.
Roses
I
as
think
well.
they're-
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
fair.
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting.
It's
This division is definitely very different. Like, I mean, you're looking at it's like win percentage. You got to be thinking around 600. You know, like high 500s, 600 is kind of where we're
550
at.
is not going to be enough.
Where some of the matches are left off to play, I'm thinking like in that 580 range is
Yeah.
really where it's going to be at. If you're above that, then you're in. So
Yeah, we don't really have two teams that beat up on everybody. Obviously, the Rock and Rollers played really good this season, but they kind of took a beating at the end of the season, so it kind of brought them back to the field a bit, right?
yeah,
But yeah, this whole division's just a mess. When we were looking at the Schwartz division, I was thinking there's 5, maybe outside chance of 6 teams still having a shot at 3 spots. Here, there's really only 2 or 3 teams that are out of the mix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do have to say though, it's a lot cleaner in the respect that you don't have a couple of teams that still have like majority of their schedule still to play.
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
Yeah, you've got a
Yeah,
couple
it's
of
a lot
guys that
more balanced.
still have 4 matches to play, but we still have 4 weeks of games to do. So, yeah. Makes a lot more sense that way. But yeah, you look at like for myself, obviously, Rollers are in there. Misfits, I definitely have in the top 5. Roses, I have in top 5. If Crushers play the same way that they played this past Sunday, they are looking to be in there too. So, it's all about who's going to play when it comes down to it. Is really the
Yeah.
big question. So,
Yeah.
The good thing about our schedule is like as the Crushers, we have the Misfits and the Rebels to play yet. And those are kind of the 2 teams that we're looking to keep behind us. Like obviously we got to beat the Misfits to pass them. But like we're in a good position. We're playing the right teams to get us into a playoff spot.
100%.
that's right.
Your team's whole season could come down to that Rebels match.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, we could borderline shut the Rebels out and then give ourselves that could be a huge match for us.
But if we lose to the Rebels, that Misfits match might not matter, right? Like
Yeah, 100%.
that's a huge matchup, and we have to beat the Rebels and then play the Misfits. And like, I hate to say it because like I'm a firm believer that it doesn't matter where you play, the teams are still going to be competitive. Yes, we get to play at Bonnie Doon, but if all things are even, it shouldn't matter, right? So us playing at Bonnie Doon against the Misfits is kind of fitting, and they're the team that kicked us out last year in the playoffs. So a little bit of Regina revenge, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big time. We'll definitely be looking to to win that match for sure. I'm sure we'll be coming out motivated for that one.
Yeah, the biggest thing I see is even if the Rebels go like split their next couple of matches go like 8-8, right? Puts them at 42, which pushes them above Crushers, or puts them just behind the Crushers. Sorry. So, like that's kind of the math that I play is like, okay, minimum you throw 8s up on everybody who has 4 matches left, and see what it actually looks like at that point to put everything back into even stats, right? So.
Yeah, like so that. Kind of as it sits, it's kind of rock and rollers. I would say Mayhem are probably in a good position. Misfits are, I think they're right there with us.
Who does Mayhem have to finish?
Pinslayers and Thunder.
They have,
Yeah,
They
they're
have
in a good position.
Yeah, Pinslayers and Thunder.
do they have?
Yeah, it's their last 2 matches. So they do have a couple of teams at the lower end of the standings as it currently sits. So they, the teams they play obviously have a huge chance to play spoiler there, knowing full well that that's what the Mayhem are going out to do is just secure a few points just to secure their playoff spot, right? So,
And the
The
reality
funny thing is like the Pinslayers are playing decent, right?
They are.
Like,
Yeah.
they are, yeah.
They shot 1,400 against us.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, they threw 1370 and lost this past week. So,
well, and I
Which
think
was-
the other thing to keep in mind here is the Venom, the Thunder, and the Pinslayers all have 4 games left. It's not. I mean, it's unlikely, but it's mathematically there. If they get 24, 25, 26 points, one of them, they could be threatening for a playoff spot too. So there's an awful lot to play for an awful lot of teams here.
Well, and not only that, like there's, I mean,
Relegation.
yeah, exactly. Like they're playing for both ends of the division, really. I mean, Pinsanity is obviously on the lower side of it at the moment, and Eclipse are on the lower side of it at the moment. So they definitely need to get some wins in there if they want to stay out of it. But yeah, I mean, it really comes down to the Eclipse. The Eclipse win big the next couple games. That puts some pressure on the other people, on the other teams. But they definitely need points right now with Caribou and Venom being like already at their 30-point mark with 2 games in hand, right?
Yeah, the Eclipse season comes to an end this Sunday. So they have Pinslayers and Rebels. So those are obviously Pinslayers are playing really good. Rebels are hunting for a playoff spot. So they have some tough matches, and these matches could be the ones that keep them out of relegation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I really think the Roses have a chance for first. The way I look at it.
Yeah.
I mean, and you know what? I think the whole division really comes down to how the Roses play. Because they can hurt the Rebels, right? They can hurt the Eclipse. And who are the other 2 teams they play?
They play the last week. They played Carnage
Venom.
and
Yeah,
Venom.
and Carnage. Yeah, there you go. So I mean, they could, and Carnage. So they can have really 3 big effects. I mean, Venom still has an outside chance, right? But I don't think you have to worry about relegation with them. That's really at this kind of how looking at it. But they could really. I really do think the Roses are the ones you have to worry about for creating kind of or settling the division, I guess you can say.
Yeah, and you think about how the Roses have played historically. They've been in division finals every year previous.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Finally got out of a division that didn't have to deal with next gen. So,
Yeah.
So to be fair, like when you look at their history, they have the potential to be there again.
Yeah,
So-
100%.
I will say, so if you say the Roses and you say the Mayhem and you say the Rock and Rollers, that's 3 from the sports division last year. So I guess
Yeah.
we're just swapping, right? So yeah.
Yeah.
So, but they're leading our division, and then you said on the other side the Cargill division teams were playing for like 3rd, 4th, 5th. The Cargill division is just a tough. It's just tough. That's all it was.
Yeah.
Everybody beat up on each other.
It's a battleground.
So I mean, I mean, the way I kind of look at it, I would think that for me personally, I would think of the top 5. I think Roses and Rock and Rollers are probably Rock and Rollers for sure. Obviously, they're clinched, but I would think Roses and Mayhem of the next 2 best opportunities. And unless there's a bunch of teams go runners, start running some games at the bottom there, which is possible. I would think the Rebels, Crushers, Carnage, and Misfit would be the next. Be fighting for 2 spots out of those 4.
Yeah.
That's how I kind of look at it.
Yeah.
Right. You got to look at Venom, Thunder, and Pinslayers. Like they have to win out. They just have to destroy every match to get in, right?
Yeah.
But I think you're right. Like Roses in Rebels, us, and the Misfits are going to be fighting for that.
And
4,
we
5,
play
6.
Four,
and we
five.
play the Rebels and we play the Misfits.
Yeah.
And the Roses will play the Rebels and they'll play Carnage. Right? I mean, it's going to be a bloodbath.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Carnage. Oh man, like 4 teams playing for 2 spots.
Get your popcorn ready.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Who shouldn't want to commentate lately?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just to see the drama unfold.
Yeah. At least I bounced back and forth the last few weeks. So
Yeah, fair. Obviously, we're going to continue talking. We're going to talk about some MVP stuff and stuff like that. But we might as well take a look at the payouts for this season.
Yeah.
So this year, league champs are going to be taking just about $17,000 home. It's a nice payday for playing a sport that you don't get paid to play.
It's awesome.
Obviously, we are paying out 6 spots in each division this year. 6th place doesn't get into playoffs, but they get a little chunk of change back. Hopefully, just to put towards next season. But yeah, obviously the payouts went up due to we added 2 more teams and we got a title sponsor. So hopefully everybody's happy with the amount of money that 5 Pin Universe is throwing back at you. It's almost 100% payout.
Yeah, and 17,000 for first place is massive.
yeah.
Last year was 16.5, I think, or no, it was 16.2. So it's up a few $100. So, and we're paying out extra spots, right? So,
And I think that's good. Adding in another spot when you add an extra team, that's quite all right. That's still less than 50% of the teams are making money. So I think that's a good point, like about that 50% mark. But
playoffs are still tough to get to, but obviously paying out that 6th spot, the team that just misses the playoffs, they get a little something back.
Yeah. Well, I think it's good to see that. Yeah, it's just below that halfway mark for payouts. Obviously, you don't want playoffs to be easy to make. You want it to be the challenge, but that's just the caliber of bowling that's across Canada right now, and that's the best thing about this is you're literally showcasing that, getting to bowl against people that you do not get to see at nationals all the time, just because it could be that scenario of a better team obviously from somewhere else potentially takes it, or better team on the weekend, right? So
it's like I don't want to compare the two because obviously like you got to go through all this qualifying to get to the Open, stuff like that. But it's like the Open on steroids, right? It's the players, you can pick your own team, right? This is the team I'm going to roll with. It's like super mixed teams. So that I always look at it that way. It's like the best players are playing together. This is as high as a caliber of a sport or in the sport that you're going to get.
You're not restricted by zones. You're not restricted by province. It's actually, this is the best of the best in a lot of ways.
Yep.
Yeah.
How far do you want to drive? Scott Clausen, 5 hours.
Obviously we don't need anything.
You could have been Scott Clausen for us.
Like, I could have been, yeah, but yeah.
Well, Vic, you suck.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, like this is like the best and the best, and that's kind of where I like. Look, I mean, obviously, I'd prefer to be playing in Sherwood, but like it's kind of neat that we're facing Misfits in the same house when it's do or die too. kind of evens the playing field a little bit that way too. So it's just doesn't matter. Whoever performs best, right?
Yeah, you won't have the center conversation as part of it.
Yeah,
So,
100%.
yeah, 3 hours for
Impressive.
Madison. Yeah.
Do you think that some of these centers are taking it a little bit more seriously where there's going to be some tough scoring houses, but is there really that bad of scoring houses in this? Like, I guess you kind of look at like maybe Rustico for Pinsanity and PI. It's a community center. They probably don't put a lot of effort into making pinfall ridiculous. But like, I think the centers are taking it seriously and they're like trying to make it good scoring for their pro league team, right? Because you don't want to see your pro league team always floundering and missing playoffs or being in the midfield, right? So your guys' thoughts?
I think so. I mean, yeah, I think so. I think each center has a little bit of pride in it. I think your center gets highlighted playing these events, and you kind of want to make sure it's highlighted in a good manner. Does that make sense? Where you don't want to go there and you can see terrible pinfall over and over and over. I do think Rustico does put a little bit of work in. I just don't think they have the the resources like we do. I think that's the easiest way of saying it. But I do think it's important to have the centers to be good scoring. I mean, you look at Brecken. Brecken was a decent scoring center, and Duncan's playing very well. Like you replace with another good scoring center, right? And I don't think there's really a bad scoring center in the 5PL. To be honest with you, I mean the bowlers will let you know. I know Johnstone probably will let me know, but or Daryl. But I mean they played very well. I think it's important to have that. Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree with that. I don't think I've never talked to a proprietor that doesn't want their center to score. And I think the pro, as you said, the pro league just heightens that because it's that much more out in front of people.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I do know some, like not in the pro league. I do know some centers that are like, we want it like original. We just want to keep it the way it's always been, which is fine. But like, I don't think that's gonna do well in this league. Like, you're gonna have to do the things that are gonna make pinfalls better if you want your teams to be successful. But you're right. I don't think there is a bad scoring center.
No, and I think there's a lot of things that you can do. I think that centers are experimenting. Like I hate to say it, it's creating a little bit of innovation, right? Like maybe it's doing something with your pin deck that the pins slide a little bit easier, or maybe it's putting new bases on your pins, or switching out pin bands, or doing innovative ways to help your scoring without drastically having to change your center, right? Because obviously the pro league only plays on one lane. They don't play on all your lanes. So putting a lot of cost into it is probably pretty tough for a lot of these proprietors, but there's some small items that they can change out so that they can adjust to help that, right?
And you just keep trying. So little insider thing. Schultz brought in a old band on the weekend, and we didn't put it in our set at all. He had this old band that he pulled off an old pin, and he's like, these things are hard as hell. Like, this is the reason why, like, you're getting chops and all this stuff. Let's put it on. So we put it on lane 15. We put it on the head pin on lane 15, and we were sending pins, like, because this thing is 20 years old and that rubber is hardened, and we're sending it into the lanes next to us. Like, it wasn't like, it was wild. Some of it was like, oh yeah, that one ducked under. Oh no, that one is like clean into lane 14.
Yeah.
It's like,
thank God we didn't have it on our lane, because I would have had corner every time.
Problem is, I can't get that damn thing off.
Oh, really?
It is still on lane 15 because I cannot pull it off.
You have to dunk it in hot water. Let it swell.
Something. Or I'm just gonna cut it off. I don't know, but it's like it's It's been a challenge. I've got
Oh,
decent
no.
grip strength, and it is not working.
I always had to use the posts on the supports. To
Oh,
actually help
I
get
use
bands
that to
off the mic.
put them on,
Yeah.
but I can't use that to pull it off. And I'm just like, I don't know what to do. I don't
Yeah,
know what
you
to
might
do.
have to cut it.
Oh, no.
That's
Contractor X can get it off. Nice.
I don't like the way that was phrased.
Oh, jeez.
Moving on. Oh, that is a good call. That is what we need.
Well, what were we thinking? Jeez.
We definitely needed the broom. That'll take it off for sure.
A little
help.
MVP talk, maybe. Shane and Justin and Robert are crushing it.
Yeah, and Mark Steves.
Yeah, and like
And
Jeremy is right there. Bradley's right there.
Yeah, Jeremy has been throwing a solid second spot for next gen, and just keeps throwing.
Racking
He
up
doesn't seem
points.
to have a rough game. At least not when I've watched
that
him.
guy has always been super talented, but it's like the last couple of years, it's just kind of like mentally clicked with him more, I think, and he's been so good.
Michaela sitting at a 291 for the ladies. Larissa sitting at 274 with 7 wins.
Yep.
There's
Looking at that for Bradley, he's got 7 wins in 70 frames. So I'm guessing that I take that to mean he's probably 7-0.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I've taken a quick look at the stats. I think he might be the only person who is undefeated, who has not lost yet this year.
Yeah, and he's playing.
Yeah.
I would have been surprised if he didn't play 3 games though.
let's see here. Bradley played 7 games. That's it.
That's crazy. So why did he not play the other 3?
I think they're just trying to rotate people in.
He was pretty injured at the start of the year too.
Yeah. I mean, for ladies as well, if you go down a little bit further, you have Jessie Bailey, 287 with 5 wins. Michaela Eby, 286 with 5 wins.
It's awesome.
So, yeah, a couple wins there and a couple high games. They can look themselves up there right now too, right? So,
Yeah, Justin's
Well-
9-1 playing anchor. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's really
But then
good.
you got like Dakota. Obviously, you got Aaron. That's sitting at 313. Played 6 games only so far, right?
I guess it all depends on what you're playing out. Right now, I think, me personally, I obviously changed the leader for that. Just because 9 wins out of 12, 75.
Yeah.
And then it's just the amount of frames he's played, right? But I mean, if Brad goes out and he finished it up with 9-9 or whatever it is, that'd be kind of crazy.
9-9 would be pretty crazy, but like Justin sitting at 284 with like I know he got pulled the one game, but he's at 9 points, right? With 2 games to go.
Yeah.
Like how do you weigh it properly in the MVP vote? Do you just go points matter most and then average? Like average is pretty big, especially when team totals matter 3 points, right? That's as much as your individual point is huge, that team total is even bigger.
I think it's a lot of work, but I think the way how the Open dictates All Stars, I think that's something I maybe with a little bit of refinement on it. I think frames played is very important, right? And I know right now it's just a weighted percentage between match wins and pinfall kind of thing, or averages, I guess you can say. But I do think that's probably the easiest way to figure out MVP instead of people just looking and trying to analyze. It's so close right now. Previous years, Parker just ran away with it like the 1 year, and it was pretty straightforward, right?
I think that's why we kind of leave it up to all 220 players in the league, right? Here you go. You guys vote. we're not going to analyze the heck out of it. Everybody sees what happens in their division. You can't vote for your own teammate, so you look out there and you see who you think was playing the best, right? It's not an analytical thing. It's like, oh yeah, Shane Chafe was unreal all season.
I know we have this talk in like MLB and NHL and those things, but like if your team doesn't make playoffs, are you MVP?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
You know, it's most valuable player. If your team doesn't make playoffs, I don't know. I know a lot of that comes down to there's a lot of moving parts in it, but like, and I don't want to rule those people out because they had a great season and it didn't work out for them. But also, like, part of being an MVP is making playoffs. You know?
Yeah, helping your team reach the biggest possible result, right? So, like, I think that matters a lot in this.
So we might as well get rid of Robert Tompkins. That team's not making it. So
This team really let him down this year.
well, I mean, actually, if you want to talk about letdown, if you go all the way to the bottom, I actually had to look for this. It's how long it took me. But it said he's really near the bottom. Scott Halka, 31 frames for 208 average and 1 foul.
And a foul.
Shoe cover.
Yeah.
Let's not scroll down to the bottom of this. Let's leave those poor people alone. Some people have bad seasons or are injured. Let's not poke and prod them.
Yeah, let's not shame them.
There's one person that I would like to maybe point that would get some consideration from me, even though they're quite a bit down as far as points, and that would be actually Trevor Cook, because he's averaging 306, 307, but he's only gotten four wins so far.
Wow.
This year, and he's played anchor the entire year. He's had a zillion thrown at him.
Yeah.
That's an insane stat line.
Like if they make the playoffs, it's going to be largely because he's won quite a couple of totals for them.
Yeah.
He has definitely been very consistent down there. So
That's a wild stat line.
I'm also
That's
biased
crazy.
because he's my Friday night team captain, so I see him all the time.
Yeah, him and Jesse are playing super solid. And then you have Amanda's playing really good. Kevin's playing decent. Matthew's playing good. Yeah, like if they do make playoffs, that's got to be a lot on Trevor, right?
That's crazy. I paid attention, but I didn't really have in depth on that, and that's why we got you on here, Tim. Right? That's great analysis there.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, no, there's some good bowling out there. I mean, obviously, you go like I'm looking at match. I mean, Giggy's close to 300, only has 27 frames in. Obviously, that's not close, right? But Aaron Elvis, yeah, Trevor Cook, that's a good one.
Quality of play has been outstanding this year. I think when I took a look this afternoon, I think there's 9 people averaging 300 plus right now.
Yeah.
with probably another 24, like 290 plus as well. So
yeah, Jenna Lamoureux 291 with 4 match wins, right? A couple of big games there, all of a sudden that changes a little bit, right?
When 290s are a coin flip for a win.
Yeah.
Wild.
I will let you know. Let's see here if I can sort this.
Okay, I'm sorry. What about this stat line? Brandon Hagen, all 90 frames, 280, only 2 match wins.
That's wild.
Yeah,
Welcome to the big league.
Yeah.
Because and that's why they're playing. If you ever notice, the average pros are top loading their lineup and letting the bottom two. Not saying they have no chance, but they're cannon fodder because they want to get those points. Yeah.
Look at this, guys. 416 average.
Nice.
Yeah, he's not even good enough to make the team apparently. Like you don't even let him on there.
Okay, how is he not on that team?
If I was them,
It
I'd
will
kick
be
off,
next year.
I'd kick off Dino or Nielsen for sure.
That
Those
guy
guys
is
are-
the smartest Saskatchewan player that I know.
Yeah.
Just because he listens to me.
Tuck the pinky. like the team's fairly solid. Like nobody's
Yeah.
playing abysmal, right? Like
I'll give Real Nielsen for sure.
Lonnie's hurt, right? He fell in Regina.
Showed up
Did
to
he?
Regina, gets injured on Wednesday.
Well, how he wasn't skiing, was he?
Tim, guess what?
They're in Regina.
Right.
Tim. How many ski hills do you think there are in Regina?
He could be cross country. I don't know.
Ray Basaraba was there, and
Oh,
Lonnie
Ray came down.
went-
Okay.
went to go get some munchies for Ray across the street from the hotel. He slipped going across the crosswalk.
With his hands
You
in
know
his
what?
pocket. So he
Hands
just
in
kind
his
of like
In all
went down
fairness,
like a trout and just flopped.
I fell on the crosswalk in Ottawa and hurt my leg. So I mean, it does happen. It's uneven when you put the paint across. It's a little bit uneven. I've been there.
Into the paint. Yeah.
By average right now, we got Aaron Abeles at 313, Shane Chafe at 308, Trevor at 306, Mark Steves 304, Colton 303, Sean Heller 303, Bradley Tickett 302, Guillaume Seguin 301, and Tyler Tickett 300.
Sorry, and
Those are
how
the top
much
averages.
is your MVP?
$250 each side.
Yeah.
That's
It's
crazy.
almost a deep downside. MVP is important, but man, I was like, you can probably there should be just an all-star team at this point. Make it a little easier, right?
Well, you find us some more advertisers, Tim, and we'll pay out an all-star team. How's that?
Yeah, you know what? I'm right on it for sure, 100%.
Sounds good.
On my to-do list. Yeah. I know we're sort of talking about MVPs a little bit, but I kind of like maybe touch base on. We always talk about it. What not disappointing, but what's the kind of the teams or the players that you thought would be better? Because I mean, we said the first couple of years Lumberjacks. I think Lumberjacks are playing better, right? If I was looking at a team that I thought would be playing better, and they could still finish better, one team comes to mind is I think the Pinslayers. They made the team last year, and this is not knocks. These are actually like
These are teams that you expected to be higher up that are
Pinslayers.
underperforming, right?
Yeah, Pinslayers knockouts, I would say. I thought the Storm Strikers, honestly, looking at the team.
Well, and like that's kind of it for me. I mean, they get in this year and they're getting close to facing relegation their first year. In and out.
I mean, with all due respect, if we were having this conversation last week, I would have probably said the Crushers.
Absolutely. That's why we're having it this week.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, Hooper's just hoopering us. That's what he does. Yeah. We deserve that, though. We deserve.
Oh, absolutely.
I was looking at the stats, right, and I think anybody on that Storm Striker team, they've all had national experience. They've all been all stars. Like I've never seen Dave struggle this much, right? And for me, if I was looking at a team of Newfoundland guys, and you're making up a tournament master team and had one of five, he'd be one of my five guys for sure.
Well, like look at their expansion scores when they. Here we go. We'll bring this in. Like Storm Strikers. Well, like 1230, 1279, 1230, then the big 1480 to get them in. So
Yeah.
I guess it does kind of track. Like most in this league, if you're not shooting 1250s at bare minimum, you're probably not winning a lot. So
Can we still talk about the fact that Peg City Punishers is the worst team name I've ever heard?
I didn't want to say when Kerry told me last year, it's like, no, this is not a name. How would you approve that?
That is
There's no way.
like I could only imagine what that logo would have been.
yeah.
This is a
I don't
family
even know.
podcast.
Yeah,
Way to
exactly.
go there.
That's why
Just
we're
Google it.
don't do that.
Yeah.
I just
But,
can't believe
but like Rebels are kind of where I expected. They're in a playoff run.
They're a good
I
team.
don't. Yeah, I think the expansion teams did well. Like, sure, the Storm Strikers are a little bit behind, kind of where we all thought they should be, but I think the expansion was solid.
Yep.
Underperform again, Revengers.
Unfortunately, that's kind of what I was thinking too. Like on paper, that team should be really, really good.
Yeah, they did kind of lose a couple pieces from their previous season, obviously due to maybe another team trying to get through the expansion, and Mr. Brad Mullins unfortunately took the season off from the team. So they did lose a couple key pieces, I think, on that team.
Well,
Maybe they can get them back.
Yeah. But I mean, the guys who filled in, obviously Jackson, he has experience, right? Obviously Simon Hewitt's a good player, and we don't see him play enough. He's very good. And then Joel, obviously we know Dr. Joel, right? Joel can play. He's played outside. So I mean, they replaced them like it's like from a 1A to 1B. So it's not like it was a severe drop.
The team actually was really solid. Like, let's bring them up here.
And I mean, they honestly had a terrible start of the season. So for them to be where they are, it's actually not that bad.
Yeah, they actually played really good. Like, their low player besides Sarah, but Sarah didn't play very much, was Jackson at 244. Like, that's still solid.
Yeah.
Right.
I looked at that and saw why was Brad not starting? But that is the rule for the emergency sub, right?
That's correct. If you have 5 players that can play off your roster, they have to start the match, and then your emergency sub can come in.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. We've had a few, like, the emergencies this year.
But that's a crazy stat, eh? Pinslayers have faced a 13.5, 1370, 1450, and a 1450 in their losses.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, you
Like,
could say
they've had it rough.
Yeah, average pros have dealt with a lot of that too.
Yeah.
Definitely in that 1350 range was a lot of their losses. So.
Do you think, like, maybe it's me just thinking about this, but like you talk about the Pinslayers. Not many know a lot of the Pinslayers on the team, right? As well as maybe some other teams. People know Sean, obviously Carol, Michaela, good player, but maybe they are a little bit more freewheeling against them, same as the average pros. Where maybe if you're playing a team like like the Roses or like the Holy Roller, not the Holy Rollers, the Rock and Rollers. There's teams out there that are very familiar, like really good teams. You maybe just have a little way of playing a little bit different against them.
Yeah, so you're saying like the other teams are stepping up a little bit because they don't know who the team is, so they're more a little freewheeling or whatever that situation is. I think there is definitely some of that, right? Because you look at last season, I think average pros had the highest average against. Pinslayers probably have highest average against, and it's not like they're playing bad. It's just a little bit of that. Oh, we don't really know who's on that team besides Mr. EB, his daughters, Unreal, Carol, and like maybe there is a little bit of that going on, but they're stepping up and they still have a playoff shot. Like we just talked about, if they win out, you never know, right?
Yeah.
That is the fun part of bowling. You never know till it actually comes down to the day.
Yep.
As of right now, average against is the highest against the Lumberjacks.
Really?
Oh, really?
Wow.
They are being averaged 268 against.
Okay.
Next is average pros, Holy Rollers, Dynamite, Revengers.
I have to say we're probably near the bottom.
Our average against is 258.
Yeah.
So 50 points less.
Yep. And that's probably why you're seeing those teams kind of not in a playoff spot, right? All the teams are stepping up against them. Pinslayers are being averaged against at a 260 pace.
Mhm.
Well,
Oh, what? Avalanche have the lowest against? Oh, that's got to be incorrect. I got to look into that. It seems the number isn't right. There's no way. Highest average for, obviously, is probably next gen.
Next gen.
288. Avalanche are the next highest at 273.
So the rich keep on getting richer, eh? See, but I do think that can be a factor, though, right? I mean, look at it. But you're playing next gen and Bonnie Doon. They're a great team. I think you just tighten up just a little bit more than you normally would. I think because you have to throw big, right? It's tough.
yeah, they're a team you can't make a mistake against, and it doesn't matter how you look at it. That's always the way it's going to be. Yeah, for them. And I think the Avalanche have shown that. 'Cause I can't remember who's beat next gen, but even those matches were like super close, right down to the end, and it just came down to who threw the right ball at the right time.
Yeah.
So, which is the sport. So,
Yep.
yeah, we've all seen it. We've all played it.
Sometimes
everybody
it goes
on
the other
paper
way
always-
too.
Yeah.
I was going to say sometimes it goes the other way too, because yes, sometimes you tighten up when you're playing one of these top teams, but sometimes you bear down just that little bit more because you need to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kerry doesn't like the stat.
Lowest average against next gen 243. Teams just aren't stepping up against next gen.
That means they're winning on average by 225 points.
That's
That's insane.
that's got to be the opposite. That's got to be the tightening up scenario, right? That has to be.
It would make
Yeah.
sense to me.
Knowing you can't make the mistake, and then as soon as it shows up, it just gets worse. Yeah.
That's wild.
That's a big difference.
That's a huge difference. That's the next lowest average against is the Caribou Thunder 245.
And I feel like that kind of goes hand in hand with their team average too, because if they're winning by 200, they just get to freewheel every time. There's really no press at all, right?
No, I mean you watch, and honestly, I've watched a few games and I turned it off. They come back. It's like, oh, just another one. Oh, ha, 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 ha. And I'm like, yeah, this is not even made for TV. It's just tell me when it's over.
Yeah, I mean there's that too, Steve. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
Interesting.
crazy.
That's the wild stat of the night, I think.
I think that's my stat of the year for the Pro League, to be
But
honest.
that's insane.
Yeah.
So
The
it'd
most
be interesting.
balanced.
Yeah.
The most balanced is the Eclipse, averaging 247, and their average against is 252. That's the closest gap.
Okay.
And
Five pins.
that's crazy. 5 pins and they're in a real tough spot.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Oh, no, sorry. Incorrect. Snowmen. I don't know why I did it that way. Snowmen 258, 258.
Oh, all right. And they're just on the wrong side of that 258.
Yeah.
It's interesting because we talked about earlier about kind of who our bad surprises or disappointments of the Pro League were. I think the Snowmen for me might be one of my pleasant surprises because they had a massive lineup turnover this year and a couple players in who aren't really well known outside of Winnipeg, and they're chugging along and they've got an outside shot at the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never didn't really know Kevin. I just heard the name once in a while. Obviously James was out here for a couple of years. I know he tried out for the Open a few years or whatnot. He was here. But yeah, Jesse, obviously, yeah, and honestly, kudos to Amanda. I know she goes through a lot and she's persevering, and you can see her on her journey, and for her to play, and she's won some really big matches for that team.
Yeah.
Just to answer this quick, Kevin, there is a private chat on Facebook that explains all this, but it is 2 teams from each division that fall into the relegation tournament. So just don't be in the bottom of your division by 2 spots.
Right.
Sorry, I had to send the dogs upstairs. Came running down.
Yeah, no. I mean, I don't think you have to worry about that if I was, Thunder, I guess. It all depends, right? So it's close. Just won a few matches. I know we helped you out from that. You guys beat us at one game, I believe.
Yeah, Thunder at 29.5. They have 4 matches yet.
Yeah. But I mean, Pinslayers too, right? I mean, just beat up on the Clips, right? Beat up on Bailey.
Bailey will love that.
Only the one spot, right?
Just the one spot, yeah.
Only on Bailey.
Alrighty. What else do you guys want to talk about before we wrap this up? Wow. You guys are so talkative.
Yeah, I was just thinking Newfoundland's playing their Open this weekend.
They
Yeah.
are.
Started today, if I remember right. Singles.
Yeah.
Yes. The winners are already crowned for singles, Megan Gallicano and Brad Glynn.
Yeah,
Awesome.
congratulations. Nice.
And if I won't pull it up here, Megan, there's 2,000s to finish. Let me pull it up here. So
She shot 1,100 for her last 3.
right, and Brandon Tibbs shot 1,000, and he wasn't even close by 100 to that. So, and they're playing at Paradise, right? So they were playing at the 10-lane center. I think it's only 10 lanes, I believe. So, yeah, good scoring all around out there.
That's gross.
Yeah.
Obviously, Brad did something with the lanes. I'm just saying because it's obviously his center. So,
Well, isn't that Ryan Center?
yeah, they're both the same. Well, I'm like, sorry, Ryan. No, I'm not going to say where Ryan finished.
Ooh.
It might have been bookends. So,
Here we go. Relegation tourney. So there is not a max. We have not set a max. So there's automatically 4, obviously, from the league that will fall into relegation. And then based on last year, there could be as many as 6 other teams that want in. So it could be a 10-game, I don't know how or a 10-team event. I'm not sure how we're going to do it. Based on free time and being summer, it's not going to be a long event. It's probably going to be a 1-day event, however that looks. If it's just straight pinfall like we did last season, or if we introduce maybe a step ladder or something. But since we're going to be bringing 4 teams back into the league, there probably won't be any substantial play, I wouldn't think. It would just be like 4-game pinfall or maybe 5-game pinfall or something like that. But
I was telling Carrie the average pros have this big elaborate idea how to run relegation. Shows the confidence they have. Because they're already planning how to figure out how to run a relegation.
hey, if they're willing to run the relegation tournament and they can come up with a way that they're going to pull it off, by all means. But they have no idea the undertaking it would take for 10 teams to play like a tournament. There's a reason it takes us 20 weeks to run the league.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't want to be running 5 matches every week. across Canada. You get
And there is, yeah, it's crazy. And there is rules to it too, right? Like a lot of the teams were told about it last season. Like if, let's say there's a new team in Edmonton that wants to start up and they pull players from existing teams. If they don't make it in, those players can't go back to the original teams. They got to sit out a season, right? That's a double dipping rule. So pay attention.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this weekend, obviously, Newfoundland, I was going to say Teaching Masters in Alberta is this weekend as well.
Yeah.
Seniors Masters just played this past weekend. So, yeah, I know that's what's on the horizon.
The whole
Lost
season
down.
is starting to wrap up everywhere.
Yeah.
Masters, the Open, 5PL.
Same thing in
WCBT.
Manitoba. Same thing in Manitoba. We had our 4th out of 5 teaching events last weekend, and it's 4th out of 5 tournament division next weekend on the 23rd.
Right.
So
How late does your season go, Tim?
our final events are the 6th, 13th, and 27th of April, and that's our last. We'll declare the teams then.
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoy how you guys in Manitoba use the outlying centers like Selkirk. What was the other ones you used out there?
It was just Selkirk this year, but we were able to go to Coronation, which 8-lane center. I mean, our teaching division is now 65, 66, 67. We're at the point where even 16-lane centers are becoming too small. So we're looking at experimenting with splitting up and going to smaller centers.
Have you heard about our teaching division play? What word am I thinking of?
Provincial?
Thank you. I kept wanting to say playoffs. Freaking Pro League. We started off with 84 people on 16 lanes. So luckily we are now under the 80-person mark. So that's good for everybody. But that is a long. It's going to be a long weekend. 16 games.
Darcy? No. That's way too much work.
He's just trying to work his knockouts thing because he's a manager. It just makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So what is it?
Yeah.
That's 2 more teams, but everyone plays 12 games. Two team round robin.
Yeah, good.
Scheduling is already a pain in the ass, much less dividing it up even more. And then,
Trying to put it all together at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Kathy,
grateful.
we're just signing off now.
Yeah. Good evening. Good night.
I'm grateful. I think we can probably run a few matches at the end of April, hopefully, if depending on teams, and the first week in May. So I'm hoping that we can do that. So
Yeah, let's hope we can get this wrapped up before June. That's the goal.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thanks, guys. Thanks, Vic. Thanks, Tim, for coming on and shooting the shit with us and figuring this out. But this Sunday, some big matches, obviously, for Toppler Roses, Rebels, Pinslayers, Eclipse looking to stay out of relegation.
Yes.
Maybe play a little spoiler.
Average pros, Kingpins. Yes, there's a lot going on with all of it this weekend. That's for sure.
Yeah. Dynamite are looking to make their playoff chances even more bright with a few wins this weekend. So
Absolutely.
without further ado, we're gonna sign off, and you guys have a great rest of your night.
Thanks, guys.
Adios.
Bye.
Thanks,
Thanks,
everybody.
guys.